February of 2021 is looking really good, and if you're a fan of releases that are hyped up or releases that sell out, then this month is going to be solid for you. And the first half of the month actually has a lot of heavy hitters. What's up everybody, I'm Seth Fowler and this is Sit or Sell. Thanks so much for tuning in today. Please make sure to hit that subscribe button and that notification bell down below if you want to see more videos just like this. And also make sure to give me a follow on Instagram and on Twitter at @RealSethFowler, because I usually give you guys some sneak peeks about upcoming videos over there. In fact, I'll give you guys a little bit of a sneak peek. Oh, there you go. That's all you get. You may actually be able to get a little bit more information over on Instagram though, so if you're interested, make sure to check it out. Oh, one last thing before we jump into the video, I just want to let you all know that if you are interested in the Chinese New Year Apothecary drop, it just went live today at 11 a.m. Eastern time. In my opinion, this Chinese New Year drop is fire. It comes in all red with metallic gold. I love it, and it's pretty limited. So if you guys want to grab a pair for yourself, make sure to click the link in the description below before they sell out. But if you're new to Sit or Sell, the way that this series works is we take a look at all of the sneaker releases in the first half or second half of any given month, and I let you know what I think about each one of those releases and whether I think each one of those releases is going to sit on shelves or sell out. And like I mentioned in this video, we're taking a look at the first half of February 2021. So that's February 1st through around February 15th. Now I will say that it's important to keep in mind that sometimes brands change release dates on the fly. In fact, it just happened last month and it's probably going to happen again this month. So if there's a particular shoe that you're really interested in, make sure to stay on top of that particular release because you never know if it's going to change. But I guess without further ado, let's just jump right into it. Starting things off on February 4th, which is the first day that has any kind of big sneaker release, we've got the Adidas Arizona Superstar Iced Tea collaboration. A couple years ago, Adidas released a crazy collaboration with Arizona and they sold each one of the pairs at a pop-up for just 99 cents, which as you can imagine didn't end up working out that well because of course if you're selling sneakers for 99 cents, all the resellers are going to line up and try and resell them for like 100, which is pretty decent profit. So that release got shut down and they ended up releasing all the pairs online. Needless to say, the collaboration did still end up being pretty successful and all the pairs sold out, and in fact Adidas actually sent me like 4 or 5 different sample pairs, which you might have caught in my most recent sneaker collection video. So as you may have guessed, this shoe looks pretty similar to all the other sneakers in the collection. It's got a green upper accented by some Arizona iced tea flowers, and it's a pretty decent looking superstar, at least if you like Arizona or the color scheme. While I don't actually know how limited this shoe is going to be, I would assume that it's going to be at least a little limited because it is a collaboration, and because of that, I would guess that it's probably going to sell out. Next up is the Ambush Nike Dunk High in pink. So I'm pretty sure that this shoe was supposed to drop in January or maybe even December. I don't remember exactly which month it was supposed to be. I know I put it in a previous Sit or Sell video, but it looks like with a lot of other Nike sneakers, this shoe did get pushed back. This Ambush Nike Dunk High comes in an interesting deconstructed construction and also comes in a tonal pink color. Well, I guess it's more of a pinkish purple than an all pink shoe, but it's a decent looking shoe nonetheless. And of course, being a Nike collaboration and also being a Nike Dunk, which are kind of at the peak of their popularity right now, this shoe is definitely going to sell out. After that, we've got another Nike Dunk with the women's Nike Dunk High Football Gray. Actually, come to think of it, this shoe was also pushed back, and so was the next shoe on the list. Not sure why, but for some reason they're all releasing on February 4th now. That said, the shoe is a pretty solid looking women's sneaker. It comes in tonal creams and light blues, and is one of the cleanest Nike Dunk Highs to release all year. Man, this is one of those shoes that I just wish also came in men's sizing, and I know I'm a size 9, so I probably could buy a pair and fit it, but man, I bet there's some bigger footed guys out there that really want this sneaker. It's clean, it's simple, I really like it. I'm not exactly sure why it's called Football Gray, and if you guys know, make sure to let me know in the comment section down below, but I definitely think the shoe is gonna sell out. Continuing on, we've got a shoe which I think will be the most popular release of the day, and that's the women's Nike Dunk Low Coast. So this shoe comes in a very UNC style colorway, and that's of course because it comes in white and baby blue. Now if you caught my Air Jordan 1 High University Blue review, you would know that I don't really think that this blue is actually Tar Heels blue. I think it's a slightly darker shade of blue, but it's not a bad look and it definitely references the UNC theme. Well, actually this colorway might not, because technically this shoe is called the Coast colorway, so maybe it's just referencing water. I don't know. Either way, it's an incredibly clean colorway, and it's another women's only pair that I think a lot of guys are gonna be bummed out that they can't fit. This is definitely a fire pair of sneakers, and one that I'm probably going to try and grab. Most likely won't be lucky though, like most of us, and obviously, I think this shoe is gonna sell out. And then finally, rounding off February 4th, we've got 5 different colorways of the Adidas Ultraboost 21 releasing. These 5 colorways come in white, black, red, pink, and brown, and they're all pretty simple and they're all pretty monochromatic. Now I know this technically isn't the first time that the Adidas Ultraboost 21 is released, but I think this is supposed to be the main launch day. And that's why there's so many different colorways of the shoe dropping. In fact, I'm sure there's other colorways that are releasing that I just completely missed. Either way, if you want to learn more about the Adidas Ultraboost 21, make sure to check out my review, which will be linked at the top of the screen. But as solid of a sneaker as I think that this is, it's not going to be a limited shoe, and I think there's going to be a lot of pairs available, so for that reason, I think the shoe is going to sit. Then moving on to February 6th, we've got the Nike Air Force 1 Low Valentines Day. And actually, make sure to stay tuned to my Instagram because next week we'll be dropping the Apothecary Valentine's Day collection, which I've got to say is fire. This shoe comes in an interesting white leather upper that's accented by more of a sail or a cream-colored midsole and Nike swoosh, but the largest accent on this shoe is the red heart that's stitched toward the heel of the lateral side. I actually think it's a pretty clean sneaker, and it's one that at first I wasn't in love with. That's kind of funny because it's Valentine's Day, but now that I look at it more, I'm kind of into it. In fact, I might actually have to try and grab this shoe. I didn't even think that I was going to say that before I started filming this video, but the more that I look at it, the more that I'm like, all right, okay, I'm into it. Now, I have no idea how limited this shoe is going to be, or even if it's going to be limited, but I would expect that it's going to be a relatively small drop because I don't think huge quantities of these would sell out, and for that reason, I think the shoe will actually sell. Then following that up, we've got a pretty weird release with the Nike Air Force 1 Low Experimental Pink. To be honest, when I first saw this shoe, I thought that it was going to be a women's only release, but apparently it comes in men's sizing. I don't know why, but apparently it does. This shoe is sort of a bubbly or candy take on the Air Force 1 Low, and it comes in sort of like a light watermelon pink. I'm not sure why. I'm not sure what the reason behind it is, and apparently the midsole is also a little iridescent. It's a weird look, but I'm kind of into it. You know, if Virgil's name was attached to this, people would be calling this hot fire. And to be fair, people are still really into this shoe. If you look at the sneaker news like heat meter, it's almost at a 5, which is kind of crazy. But I don't think it's going to be an incredibly popular sneaker, but I do think there's people out there who really love this shoe. And like with the other Valentine's Day Air Force 1 release, I think that this shoe will be pretty limited. In fact, I think this will be the more limited of the releases. So for that reason, I think this shoe will sell out. After that, we've got the European-only release of the Nike Dunk High Dark Russet. So apparently this shoe is already released in Asia, and there's no release date set for the United States yet, but I wouldn't be surprised if it does drop in the US sometime in the near future. Now with that being said, this Nike Dunk High is a pretty solid-looking sneaker. It comes with a light brown suede upper accented by sort of a darker brown nubuck and a dark orange Nike swoosh. It's a super toned down look, but one that, man, I really like a lot. I think it's an incredible looking sneaker, and it's very, very wearable. Now obviously Nike Dunk Highs are just hot right now, so every colorway is going to sell out, but I wouldn't be surprised if this colorway sells out a little bit faster than every other colorway. And of course, I'm giving this shoe a sell. Also dropping on the 6th, we've got the Air Jordan 5 Anthracite. So in my opinion, this shoe is like almost awesome. It's not really awesome because I think the materials that they use are kind of messed up, but it's almost awesome because the colorway is fire. So this shoe looks a lot like the black metallic 5s, however the materials that are used are different. And these new materials that they're using seem to be some sort of black mesh that they use on a majority of the upper, unfortunately. There are still some like dark gray suede or nubuck panels around the mudguard and around the heel of the shoe, but it kind of cheapens the shoe in my opinion by using that mesh in the middle of the sneaker. Now that said, I'm not against mesh Jordans. In fact, Off-White does it a bunch, but there's something about the way that this was done that just doesn't seem like it's a premium shoe and one that you'd pay around $200 for. Again though, the colorway is very clean, and I know there's a lot of people out there who are probably really into this shoe. And even though I'm not a huge fan of the choices that were made design-wise on this shoe, I still think it's a decent looking sneaker, and just like every other Air Jordan retro that's released recently, I think this shoe will sell out. And then rounding off February 6th, we've got the Air Jordan 12 Low Super Bowl 55. Now this shoe is fire. I love the Bred 12s, however I just don't love the way that they look on my feet because they feel a little bit boot-like, but this low top version, ooh, looks so much more wearable. And I also gotta say that gold accent that they added on the midfoot, that was a good choice. So as you probably could have guessed from the name of the sneaker, this shoe is releasing in honor of Super Bowl 55 in Tampa Bay, and so it sort of comes in the Tampa Bay Buccaneers colorway. There are also some other special Tampa Bay accents like the Tampa Bay area code on the pull tab and some sort of special sock liner, which may just be confetti, but I haven't really gotten a good look at the shoe just yet to figure out what it is. Now interestingly enough, it's releasing a day before the Super Bowl, so if you buy this shoe online, you're not gonna have a chance to wear this sneaker for the Super Bowl, but I think even people who don't care about Tom Brady Brady versus Pat Mahomes are just going to be one of the craziest Super Bowls in recent memory. I cannot wait. They're still going to like this colorway because it's just a fire looking sneaker. Actually, for real though, let me know in the comment section down below who you think is going to win this Super Bowl. I'm personally leaning towards Pat Mahomes and him doubling up, but you never know. Tom Brady is just a different player in the playoffs. It's like LeBron in the playoffs. It doesn't make sense. Regardless, I think this is an incredible sneaker and one that I'm definitely trying to get. And of course, the shoe will be limited. And of course, I also think that this shoe will sell out. Then moving on to February 10th, we've got a release that I'm unbelievably stoked for, and that's the Air Jordan 1 High OG 85. Now this shoe is just like the Air Jordan 1 85s from last year in that it's cut just like the original shoe, which I'm actually really stoked for because I don't have any 85 cut versions of my Jordan 1s. They're all recent releases or like 2015 releases. And not only that, but this neutral gray colorway is also a classic, and those gray accents on the shoe come in this really buttery looking suede. Now unfortunately, there is a downside, and that downside is that they're only making 23,000 pairs of these. And what sucks is that whenever they publicize how little pairs they're making, the shoe becomes exponentially more popular. And even though it's a colorway that I think a lot of people might not have been into, or at least newer heads might not have been into, it's gonna fly off shelves because people just want it because it's limited. So unfortunately, if you miss out at the shoe for retail, you're probably gonna have to pay close to $1,000 at resale, which is just nuts. And it's probably gonna end up being me, someone who misses out at retail and just is a sucker and buys it for resale. And of course, for the purposes of this video, I have to give the shoe a rating, but obviously it's a sell. Then continuing on to February 11th, we've got the Nike Air Force 1 Low Silver Snake. So this shoe is a silver and black Nike Air Force 1 Low with a snakeskin pattern on the Nike swoosh. But one detail that kind of separates this shoe from other Air Force 1 Lows is that the silver accent on the shoe is actually 3M reflective. So at first glance, even though it just looks like a silver and black Air Force 1 Low, it actually reflects when you take a picture of it or reflects in certain lighting. I'm gonna be honest, I'm not blown away by the design of this sneaker. However, I don't think it's bad. It's just not something that I personally feel like I need in my collection. But that's just me, that might not be you, and I think there's enough people out there who are gonna wanna buy this shoe, and because of that, I think this shoe might sell. After that, we've got the Nike Air Foamposite 1 in the AllStar colorway. So this shoe looks like a relatively plain Air Foamposite 1. It seems to come in a glossy black upper with what might be a glow-in-the-dark outsole. I mean, maybe it is, maybe it isn't, I'm not sure, it just seems to be that sort of color. It's a decent looking sneaker, it's just not for me. Oh, but it is one of those sneakers that comes in full family sizing, so if you're trying to outfit your whole family in these Foamposite ones, you can do that. With that said though, I don't think it's gonna be a popular enough silhouette or colorway to really make this shoe sell, so for that reason, I'm giving this shoe a sit. Next up is the Nike Dunk Low in Hyper Cobalt. This is a solid looking sneaker and it kind of has a Royal One vibe to it, which I'm really into. The upper is made up of both Hyper Royal details and black details, and I think together they work really, really well. It's a little bit more toned down of a Dunk colorway, but it's one of those like simple, clean looks that I think a lot of people can wear and a lot of people will rock. Unfortunately, because this shoe is such a wearable colorway and it's a Nike Dunk, this shoe will be very difficult to get and obviously it'll sell out. Next up, we've got the Clot Air Jordan 35. This Jordan 35 is a collaboration with Clot and comes in this really cool terracotta-inspired colorway. The upper comes in sail with gray suede, accented by some red hits on the sock liner and on those little like side wire things, as well as some really cool jade inspired accents. I've got to say, it's a pretty clean looking Air Jordan 35, and I would say that for me personally, this is probably up there with the Fragment 35s and those Spread 35s that came out a couple months ago. And of course, because this shoe is a collaboration with popular brand Clot, this shoe will definitely sell out. Then rounding off February 11th, we've got the Clot Air Jordan 14. So I think it's fair to say that this shoe will be the more popular of the two Clot collaborations releasing on the 11th. Retro 14s in general are just more popular than newer Air Jordan models, and I also think that this colorway and this look is just a little bit cleaner than the 35. Like the colorway on the Air Jordan 35s, the colorway on the 14s are inspired by the Chinese terracotta warriors. And what I like most about this shoe is the fact that they actually implemented the sort of terracotta brick textures along the upper of the shoe. I mean, first of all, the colorway in and of itself is really clean with that sort of light tan or brown color accented by sort of that clay orange, but when you add that little extra layer of detail, it just makes the shoe pop. And over the last year or so, I've become a much bigger fan of the Air Jordan 14, so this is a shoe that I might actually have to try and grab. Unfortunately for me though, and probably everyone else who's trying to grab a pair of these, they will be very limited and also very difficult to get. So because of that, I've got to give this shoe a sell. Continuing on to February 12th, we've got the women's Air Jordan 1 Silver Toe. This is another super clean Air Jordan 1 colorway dropping in the first half of February. I told you the first half of February was nuts, and this colorway just adds to that. This women's Air Jordan 1 comes in sort of a black toe inspired look with a black accent along the lace eyelets and around the mudguard, but the main detail on the shoe is the metallic silver leather on the center of the toe and around the heel. And that's the detail that really sets this sneaker apart. And what I love about it is that they went for a metallic tumbled leather rather than a patent leather, because I just don't love patent leather ones. Although this colorway isn't an OG colorway, it's still in the style of an OG colorway, and I think because of that, this shoe is going to be insanely popular. And you know what that means? It's definitely going to sell out. Then on the 13th, we've got a return of a classic, and that's the Air Jordan 6 Carmine. So the last time this shoe retroed was back in 2014, and finally, about 7 years already? That's crazy. 7 years later, the shoe is coming back. The Air Jordan 6 Carmine comes in that classic white leather upper accented by that red nubuck or red suede material, and then on the heel of this 2021 retro, you've got the Nike Air branding embroidered in red. Now every year, Jordan Brand seems to bring back a classic OG colorway of a shoe, and it looks like in 2021, we're gonna be getting a couple pairs of 6s. And I've gotta say, by far, the Carmine 6s are my favorite pair of 6s. As far as the amount of pairs being released, I wouldn't be surprised if there's a good amount that Jordan Brand is dropping, because with popular colorways like this, they tend to drop a lot. However, the reason they do that is because they know the demand for this shoe is gonna be insane, and even though there's a lot of pairs, it's still probably going to sell out. And then finally rounding off today's video, on February 15th, we've got the New Balance 990 V5 BHM. So this Black History Month New Balance 990 V5 is really clean. The front half of the sneaker comes in tan suedes and tan meshes, accented by a really nice dark maroon color. But then as you move towards the heel of the shoe, you've got this really clean purple heel counter. It's a simple colorway for sure, but the 990 is not too crazy of a sneaker, and so when you put a simple colorway on a silhouette that looks really solid on its own, it makes a really great combination. And for $175, it's hard to find a shoe that's more comfortable or made of better materials. Now recently, just about every single New Balance collaboration has sold out. However, this shoe isn't technically a collaboration, it's just a special edition. But I think that this shoe looks good enough, and it's probably going to be semi-limited, so for that reason, I think the shoe might sell. But that's pretty much the last major release that we have in the first half of February 2021. Now I would love to know your thoughts on all of these releases and which shoes you're looking forward to most, so make sure to let me know in the comment section down below. And as always, thank you so much for watching. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't yet, and I'll see you all in the next one.